this mock interview. We have a community member joining us today. Thank you so much for volunteering your time and for sharing your knowledge and empowering the community to learn more. Today, our mock interview question is, what is your favorite product and improve it?
Well, thank you for helping me do a mock case interview today. So to answer the question, what is my favorite product? I think my current favorite product is a transportation app called Revel. So Revel is a EV, so electric vehicle service that's very similar to Uber and Lyft. I think they are expanded in some major cities in the States. For example, I based in New York, and it's become one of my frequent app to call a car when I need to go to different places to reserve and get a reservation with electric vehicles. The reason I like Revel is for two reasons: that the pricing is much more affordable compared to Uber and Lyft. They don't have pricing surge, especially in New York City. It can get quite pricey. And the second point why I like the app is because this is all electric vehicles, and for people who are very environmental conscious about getting a car when we need to, it is a great option compared to Lyft and Uber. I have been using the app for a year now. Some of the things I liked about the app is that for the environmental conscious reason and also the pricing point, there are a couple points that I would improve about the app. So because it is a new company and especially major cities, they don't have enough cars to go around. So when I call a car, I would need to wait for about 15 to 20 minutes, depending where I go to get a possible match. So the match rate is low. And because also the lack of vehicles, the app does not currently offer a lot of bureau transportations. For example, from Brooklyn to Manhattan, they don't offer the option to do the commute at the moment. So I think for the problem the app is trying to solve, which is to provide more environmental conscious vehicle options for people who care about the impact in major cities, the app should focusing on expanding more route with the current vehicles and also expand the vehicle amount that it currently offer in New York City.
Got it. Is that the end of your answer?
Yes.
Okay. So typically, this question should take you 20 minutes, but it only took you 3 minutes. Here's how I would improve answering this question. When picking a favorite product, first I would say, what is my criteria for a product to become my favorite? It's typically along the lines of I use it all the time. If I don't have access to it, it makes my life really hard. And it also needs to be really reliable, because when it is not reliable, then it can't be my favorite product. Right, so I'm just making it up on what makes something my favorite. First, I would define what it means to be my favorite product. Before
Does,
I Sorry, say that again.
is the criteria is part of the interview process, meaning I need to confirm what the interview about? What is the criteria to be?
No. No, you don't confirm with the interviewer.
Okay.
You tell them, what does it mean for a product to be my favorite?
Right.
And you know how in a typical, and I don't know how much you know about product sense interviews, but we need to define the problem first before we solve it, right? So, what is your favorite product? When I tell you what that product is, that's like a solution to my problem. So I can't jump to solution yet at this point. First, I would have to tell you what it means for a product to become my favorite. And in answering that question, I am also describing my problems. So, who am I as a persona? Let's see, what is my favorite product? I'm going to say that in order for a product to become my favorite, me as in Nancy, for a product to become my favorite, it means I use it multiple times a day. If I don't have access to it, my life is significantly harder. and I have to use it every day, or I need to use it every day, and I don't even need to think about it because it's so reliable, it's so easy to use. That is my criteria for picking for making a product my favorite. And who am I as a persona? I work from home. That means I'm home most of the time, every day of the week, I'm home. And I live in California, so in the US, in a metropolitan area. And that basically summarizes my lifestyle. So that is me as a persona. Knowing my criteria for making something my favorite, and now knowing who I am as a persona, now let me tell you what my favorite product is, which is modern day plumbing system. So modern day plumbing system, what does that mean? It means hot running water. It means toilet and plumbing. So now going back to my criteria for something to become my favorite. If I don't have this product, then my life is significantly harder. Yes, if I don't have modern day plumbing system, my life will be significantly harder. I cannot imagine living without running water. I cannot imagine not having the ability to take a warm shower. I cannot imagine not using a toilet. And who am I as a persona? I work from home. I'm home all the time. That means I need this product to be in my house, such that I can use it all the time because I am home all the time, right? Okay, so this gives you an idea of the framework that I would use to answer a question like this. In your 3-minute answer, I don't know who you are. I don't understand why a transportation app would be your favorite. I don't understand what environmentally friendly product means to you. I want to know more about you. I want to know your persona and what makes this product your favorite and not anything else. Okay, so
That
I'm going to
makes sense.
stop here for a second. Do you have any questions?
No, no, no. It makes sense. It makes sense.
Okay. So this is just the first part of the question, which is what is your favorite product, right? And now you need to improve it. Now the follow-up question, this is where I would confirm with the interviewer, am I improving it just for myself or am I improving it for everybody? So let's say if I'm the PM for this one product, am I improving it for me, Nancy, or I'm the PM for this product, I'm improving it for everyone, for my entire user base? Because that again is a completely different way of answering the question.
That makes sense. I think the later part is more common to read in product sense questions, like defining user problem and then user segment and
Mhm.
then brainstorming solutions. That makes sense. Do
Yes.
you think I can redo it,
Yes, let's
re-answer?
do it. Let's do it again.
Okay. Well, I'm still gonna use that same app just to see if I can make it work this time. So for a product to become my favorite, I need to frequently use the app. So I'm currently in a Jersey City. I just moved to Jersey City not that long ago. So right now I'm a little bit further away from Manhattan, which is a neighborhood that I lived and also still frequently go during the week and on the weekend to meet with friends and do things. And I don't always like to take the train because it takes too long, and sometimes I want to take a car. But I'm also very consciously aware of the decisions when I take a car. For example, if I take a taxi, I'm consciously aware of the environmental negative impact that I'm making. So I am trying to choose the options that is more environmental friendly. So in terms of transportations, which is why right now my favorite app to use is an app called Revel. They are a transportation service that is in a couple of major cities, including New York, that they offer electric vehicles. All of the options that they offer are electric vehicles to customers that can take them from a couple of different bureaus in close to New York City. So sorry. So back to the template. Do I need to introduce like user segment for the app or that come like after I ask? something that like was we're trying to improve.
Okay, so at this point, I want you to summarize. Why is this app your favorite product?
Oh, right. So Revel right now, it is definitely my favorite transportation app for two reasons. First of all, is that it offers all of the electric vehicles that really align with what I'm trying to achieve in personal life, which is to be more environmental conscious with the decisions that I make. And the second option that is the pricing is definitely more affordable compared to Uber and Lyft. Revel does not have pricing surge, which can get really pricey in cities like New York. So,
Got it. And this is an app that you use all the time.
yes.
Okay, got it. So now let's pretend you're the PM. How would you improve it?
And I clarify on the improvement questions, like what are we trying to improve here? Is there a goal?
You decide.
And are we improving the product for me or for all the users that currently?
For all the users.
Is there a specific city that we're targeting for the
No,
app?
no.
So all cities that offer. Oh, just to confirm what we're trying to solve here, I think because Revel is a relatively new app that it was launched in 2018, and I think now compared to Uber and Lyft, it is still very a new platform. With all the goals that we're trying to solve here, do you think it makes sense to focus on increase user base
Versus engagement, you mean?
versus perhaps like increased revenue or retention or other things?
Um,
Is it
let's do increasing user base and engagement. Engagement also includes retention, to clarify.
that makes sense? And in terms of user segment for the app, I think I like to separate all the users into I think I like to segment the user base into two categories. The first categories are users who are very environmental conscious, that they care about the environment, which is why they would choose electric vehicles over regular cabs or Uber or Lyft. The second segments that I will focus on is perhaps young professionals in major cities that want to save money when they do take transportation, like Uber or Lyft and Revels. And for these questions, I want to focus on the first users, which is the ones who really care about, who want to be environmental friendly in their personal life, which is I think is the majority of the users who want to rely on electric vehicles for the majority part for their transportation choices. Are there any questions for the assumptions that I'm making?
What was the assumption that you're making?
That we're trying to increase user base and engagement for users who care about environmental impact compared to another user base that I propose, which is the people who young professional in the cities who are trying to save money in big cities when they take transportation options.
Are they mutually exclusive?
I think motivation here can differentiate them differently.
Okay. Okay.
I think people who are more environmental friendly when they spend money on a vehicle, electric vehicle apps, they're making a decision because they're consciously aware that they want to cause less damage compared to people who want to save money, then the app will be occasional options. Like people perhaps will switch app to try to see which platform will offer the cheapest ride at the same time. I think the
Mhm.
first group will be more loyalty customer base compared to second group user. They may switch app all the time.
Okay. Makes sense.
I think some of the pain points that I can think of for people who are trying to be more environmental conscious, even though they take electric vehicles right now on the app, is because the app is relatively new. There are limited routes that the Revel app does not offer in terms of driving customer from point A to point B. And also because there are not enough cars, people tend to wait for about 15 to 20 minutes in terms of matching with the a driver. So the match time is very time consuming.
Okay.
And I think also for people who are very manga conscious and when they choose these options, that the app doesn't really have an option to show, okay, so it's almost like what good are you trying to, or did you achieve for this ride compared to, I think, a regular cab ride.
Sorry, I
Compared
didn't
to,
get that. Sorry, I didn't get that part. Can you say that again?
I think the app is also has an unknown factor in terms of what positive did we achieve as an electric vehicle users. You don't necessarily know compared to regular cab, for example, gas consumptions. Like if you take a cab compared to electric vehicle from point A to point B, how did you protect the environment in that sense?
Okay, got it.
I think for the goal that we're trying to solve here for increasing engagement, which also includes retention, I want to focus on the third point on the unknown factor in terms of the positive that we achieved in taking electric vehicle options instead of a regular cab or other options.
Okay.
I think as a PM for the app, I will want to propose to integrate an option that when rider take a revel ride, at the end of the ride, that the app will be able to show a summary of the entire ride. For example, how many kilometers the ride takes and a comparison to a regular cab ride. I think with these features, people have more of an understanding of the differences between taking an electric vehicle ride and a regular cab ride or any gas-driven ride, gas-based ride. Because the user base we're focusing on, I think more of an understanding of the differentiations on what electric vehicle-based app compared to like a yellow cab in New York City is what was going to increase a customer loyal base and help maintain our current user base for this group of users.
Mm. So, to summarize, your solution is to show a summary view after the ride is complete.
Yes.
Okay.
I have questions. So if I'm giving two different goals because right now the goal is to increase user base and also engagement, which includes retention. Do do I need to propose different solutions for each goal, or the solution that I propose should address both?
Does it address both?
I don't think it will be enough to address both in terms of
Right.
increasing user base and
Right.
also increasing engagement.
Right. Correct.
So does that, like, should I propose like a separate solutions in terms of the other goal, or the goal
Yes.
should address?
You're not limited to just one solution.
Oh, I see. I think to increase user base.
Okay, let me ask you this differently. Maybe we could debrief because our time is up. So let's debrief. Instead of asking the interviewer what goal to focus on, basically, I gave you a lot of goals, which is not really to your benefit because you've lost control of the interview. So instead of asking the interviewer, what goal should we focus on? You can consider suggesting a goal. That way, you're in control. Do you know what I mean?
That makes sense. I mean, I feel like I did suggest, like, does increase user base make sense?
Well, then, but why? Because you didn't tell me why. You didn't tell
Yes,
me why that's the most important goal to work on.
I think I suggested because it's a relatively new app, so it makes more sense to focus on increasing user base. But maybe I didn't
I don't
emphasize.
think so. I don't think that is a compelling enough reason.
Okay.
And I know the formula is if it's new, then focus on acquisition. If it's not new, then focus on engagement and retention. But that's a very bookish answer.
Makes
You
sense.
really you want to look at the mission of the company, and in your response, you didn't mention the mission for this company.
Right.
That is something that you shouldn't forget next time in a real interview setting. Always start with the mission of the company. So I just pulled it up. Revel's mission: accelerate EV adoption. That's their mission. Then everything you do should be to ladder up to the company mission.
That makes sense.
So then from the mission to accelerate EV adoption, it reads to me that user acquisition should be top of mind for this company. So if you're
Make,
to tell me that Revel's mission is to accelerate EV adoption, therefore we should prioritize the goal around user acquisition, I would say yes, that makes sense. That is the mission of the company. Right? It's not because this app is new.
that makes sense.
Okay. Let me just read through my notes. Yeah, so to increase user acquisitions, so let's say we're laddering up to this mission. This mission to accelerate EV adoption is not enough if we just acquire new users. We also need to keep them in this ecosystem. Therefore, that's the retention piece. And for that piece, I like your solution there, which is showing the impact that we contributed to as a result of taking a Revel ride. That's how we build loyalty, by communicating the impact that each person has contributed to in terms of environmental impact.
That makes sense. I know we're
Mm.
at time, but I'm curious. For example, if someone did throw a difficult questions like multiple goals, like we're increasing user base and we're increasing engagement, are they looking, or in this case, as an interviewer, are you looking for a solution that would address both, or in the brainstorming solutions, you're looking for multiple solutions?
It's whatever it takes to meet the goals. So if it's one solution that addresses both goals, great. But it can also be two solutions.
I see.
So the
That
emphasis is not on how many solutions you need. The emphasis is on what does it take to meet the goals.
that makes sense.
And then I would say you listed a pain point around the wait time being 15 minutes, which is long. This can affect loyalty. This can affect engagement because this is where people churn.
Right.
And then
I'm
when, go
sorry,
ahead.
I have one question. For example, if we're addressing the time consuming part, the top of the idea for this problem, then on my mind will be, well, then they need to expand the amount of vehicles that the company offer, which sounds, I guess, relatively straightforward and not necessarily is an in-app feature, but rather it's a model of investment that the company should make.
I would say the other way of looking at this problem is, do does the company have enough cars to serve this one area? And it sounds like it doesn't because the wait time is too long. So in that case, they need to shorten, or not shorten, they need to make the area that they serve smaller.
That makes sense.
So it has to do with their go to market, because now they're balancing churn with a healthy user base.
That makes sense. I'm curious. So after addressing the solutions, is there a different step that the interviewer is looking for to, I guess, like complete the questions?
Yeah, to complete the question, you could set success metrics. So how do you know if this solution is successful?
And and then a summary of the problem and what we're trying to achieve, and then we'll basically complete the question, right?
Yeah.
That makes sense.
And I would also say if the mission is to accelerate EV adoption, a ride sharing app is not the only way. They
Oh,
could have
so
other products.
I see. I see. So we're like it's going I guess it's going out of that app option, but just more focusing on the mission that they're trying to
That's how I
achieve.
would do it. Yeah. Because everything is to support the company mission. And the app is just one way. There could be other ways.
That makes sense.
Like investing in more infrastructure, for example, charging stations. If there's if there's enough charging stations, people would be buying EV more.
That makes sense.
That's another way of accelerating EV adoption.
That makes sense. But if they're focusing on ride sharing, let's just say we implement more charging hubs. It can I say something close the line where if there are more charging hubs, then there are more cities that are willing to adopt the Revel app and have more potential drivers. And then basically we're expanding into different cities, not just major cities in the States.
Yes, exactly. And the requirement to expand to that city comes from the infrastructure being ready.
That makes sense. D- Sorry, I know we're at time. Do you feel like for these questions, this app, like the app that I mentioned, is a good good start, or usually people pick something else to talk about?
I would pick something that's not as niche,
Makes sense.
but it's still okay because I feel like the scope of this particular ride sharing app is small. But if we go outside of the ride sharing app and make the scope bigger, you'll have more room to be creative and you'll have more room to highlight more problems.
That makes sense. Is there an example that I can perhaps get from you in terms of like not as niche in answering this question?
I personally like to pick products that are not tech. So the modern day plumbing system is one product that I actually did use in an interview setting. And the reason why I do that is it makes me unique because I would assume most candidates would pick a tech product.
That makes sense.
But then, of course, I would have in my back pocket a tech product in case they specifically ask for tech. But
Makes sense.
I would prepare for a non-tech product as well as a tech product. And for the tech product, something that is not super niche.
Makes sense.
Sorry, say that again.
Oh no, no, sorry, I interrupted you.
I would also not pick something that is very common, like I would not pick the iPhone.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
I was going to say my air fryer, which is the very honest item that I use
Yeah,
every day.
that's a good one. I actually one time in an interview, I picked my electric grill because I use it all the time. I would also pick something like the refrigerator. Imagine you don't have a fridge. How does that affect your life?
Yeah, that definitely is more refreshing than app.
Yeah, and that's why I like to talk about the plumbing system. I actually have not talked about fridge yet as my favorite product, but I would.
But in
Yeah,
terms of mission, though, you're not necessarily addressing the brand of the plumbing or the
correct,
refrigerator, but I see.
correct. Yeah.
That makes sense. Thank you. I think this is certainly like the most helpful debrief that I don't think I ever got asked these questions actually in interviews ever, but I feel like I'm definitely more prepared just
Oh,
understanding how
good.
deep scope.
That's good. Thank you
Yeah.
so much, community member A, for coming on to my channel and sharing your journey and sharing your knowledge. Until next time.